To do. So I just want y'all to get this is no plaything, y'all. It's not. The universe requires of us a certain responsibility once we come to this knowledge. It's not something you think you can, but it's not something you can pick up and put down. If the universe chose you, out of all this death, dumb, and blindness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us about, of all of this death of ignorance we have been in, if the universe put its hand on you and chose you, you didn't choose it, chose you to expose you to this light, they did it for the purpose of not just you having the damn information, they did it because with that comes a responsibility to pass it on and to teach it, and also the responsibility to support those who they use to bring it to you. That's it, and that you've got to keep that in mind. We shouldn't have to keep going over this over and over again with you. So now that I've shared it with you, I know you're going to share that with everybody else. Then now I'm getting, that helps to bring my pressure down. Get it off of me. First, let me start with the history section. I got several sections here. I got the section on our story, not history. I got the section on the Bible from an African-centered frame of reference. I got the section on Jesus, the historical reality, African historical reality about that. I got the section on freedom fighters, and I have a section on holidays. Let me start with the section on our story first. Our story. The true history of the black man. And that's a generic term. That includes the woman, but it would have took too much ink to try to say both of those, sisters. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about all-inclusive. You know me. I do that, so don't pick with me on that, all right? Volume 1. Now, I got Volume 5 in my hand. Let me back up here. Volume 1 is entitled, It All Began in the Motherland. Dr. Felder touched on some of that tonight. The book I'm working on now should be off the press by the middle of the end of July January, is entitled African Origin of the Human Species. And it is the study of paleoanthropology. Don't let that word frighten you. It's a 5th century word that means the study of ancient humans from an African-centered frame of reference. I'm changing the language to suit us. I don't like the term Australopithecine. It is not appropriate because Pithecine means ape, and we weren't no damn apes. They were humans. So I've given them their proper names in this book. I've given them the proper name in these lectures here. We define who those people are because they are our ancestors, and National Geographics and Leakey and none of them have a right to do that. As a matter of fact, it be the Africans finding the bones, and I can prove that, and I can point that out in the book. I have 12 different profiles, and that's just a few. That's all I could fit in that of indigenous Africans who are the ones who are actually finding these bones there. And name them for you. People that you see on Discovery Channel in the background digging up something or dragging something across the field. They're the people who actually do it. So we began back 15 million years ago with this. It all began in the motherland. And 15 million years ago is really, I'm beginning to find out, kind of young when it comes to the true story of African people. And we go from 15 million years. Yes, how do we know it's 15 million years? You'll find out on this tape. Because the oldest human bone, jawbone, that has been uncovered, nothing is being discovered. Everything is being rediscovered and uncovered, has been found in Kenya, East Al-Kabu land, Misnomet Africa, land of the blacks. And it is 15 million years of age, And I'm going to let you find out for yourself who found it there. And we go from 15 million there, I believe, to 2 million years. And then we go from 2 million years, or 1.6 million years, to about 100,000 years, or 200,000 years, I believe it is here. And volume 2 is entitled The Amazing Story of Africa's Talking Bones. And there's a man in here I want you to know about, you should know about, and all your children should know about. You should know his name. It should become a household word, because this black man has found more bones of ancient humans than any other man on the face of the earth. And they come to him and they say, how is it you can do this? And we send in all these Harvard-educated people, these people from all these different universities, and they can't find these bones. And he said to them point blank, my ancestors speak to me and tell me where they are. And they laughed at him, but you'll be interested in seeing how they found out. The laugh was turned on them when they found out the reality of the fact that his ancestors did, in fact, speak to him and tell him where they were. Speaking to a lot of Africans. And say, here we are over here. White man been digging over there for weeks, for months. African come along and dig in the same damn spot. And come up with it, and it's right there. This is a wonderful and interesting study here, and to know that. Volume 3. The world's first artist. It all began in the motherland. You go from about 100,000 years there, I think, to 20,000. The first artist on this world. The artwork they're found in the caves in the Sahel, they try to give credit to that to the Cro-Magnon, which is the immediate ancestor of the Caucasian. There, the immediate ancestor of the mutanoid. These are the proper terms that should be used. And Dr. Malana, not the one here, not Karinga, but the one in Ghana, has proven scientifically that they are not members of the Homo sapiens sapien species. They belong to a canine species. And they have already told you that they do. They tell you that dogs are people too, you know, and a dog is man's best friend. And the name of their deity is God, and spell that backwards. So that all, man, there's some heavy stuff in here. You just have to deal with it. I'm not going to give it away. You're going to have to get it. I only got 3 of each title up here, man. So don't copy them, but you can get them and listen to them together, all right? Because I only have 3 of each copy. I was trying to bring a good variety. Volume 4, Kush, Home of the Gods, and I'm just using that as a convenient term, and Masters, Home of the Gods and Land of the Sacred Race. That's what it is. All the world worshipped African people. The Greeks worshipped African people. They even made up a word to try to describe what African people did because they couldn't figure out how they did it. And the word is the Greek word magikos, which means magic, which means we can't figure out how these black folks did all this. That's where the word magic comes from. It was a terminology created in honor and homage to the black man and woman whom Herodotus tells you all of the Greek gods and goddesses came out of Africa. They were heroes, sheroes, kings and queens, and great people from Africa who built mighty civilizations that spread all over the globe. We're not just saying this. We are scientists who deal with empirical data, so we can prove it. It is documented there. And of course, you could never cover it in one tape, but I do give an overview in Volume 5 of Kemet, Land of the Giants and Masters of the High Science there. They were relatively moderate in their physical build. In some areas, they were the big, tall Nubian type. But the way that they build and what they did and the level they thought on was the level of giants. And when you go see the ruins there, how many have been to Kemet? When you go see the ruins there today, it astounds you, and you have to think that gigantic people put it there. You know that statue of Ramesu at the Ramesseum? That when it was all together weighed 2 million pounds, and they brought it from 200 miles away? And I said, now, I'm saying this affectionately. This is not a good term, but this is what I said. First of all, I was trying to be spiritual and reverent, but all I could say was, damn, how do niggas take 2 million pounds and move it across the street, let alone 200 miles? How did they get that thing up there? Can't nobody figure that out yet. That's right. That magicos, don't nobody know how they did that. And that's just some of the wonderful things there that I talk about on this lecture. Now, still dealing with our story. African origin of the human species, although it does not cover all that's in the book, by no means does it do that, it's a good introduction. It only begins between 14 and 15 million years ago, and it goes up to the time of the founding of the Kushite Empire. So it gives you an introduction. Also, my approach to this study then was by and large new in the days that this, I forget, a couple of decades when this lecture was given at Morgan State University. And I was inclined to go along with what paleoanthropologists all were saying, and that is that man descended out of the ape and all that, because of the fact that the ape is the closest genetic relative to humans on the earth. The gorilla is my favorite animal, and if I had to choose to be an animal, that's what I would be. But I don't choose to be one, and I'm not one. But it's 95, although my children act like park apes when they're little, and so do I. But, you know, and they act, and apes act the same. There's a 95% genetic similarity between humans and gorillas. So it's 5% margin in there. And between chimpanzee, the one I definitely wouldn't want to be, there is 98%. Now, those percentages mean a lot. Take, for instance, the fact that in terms of intelligence, the DNA, they can measure your intelligence or your intelligence capability. Gorilla, apes, a gorilla, a chimpanzee has, I think the gorilla has 4 strands of that DNA. The chimpanzee has 5 strands of that DNA. And most humans have 6 strands of that DNA. We're talking about Europeans and others. But Africans that come from the heartland of Al-Kabu land, from the Sudan land of the blacks, have 9 strands of DNA. Now, if that don't tell you something, there's nothing I can say to you. Absolutely nothing. In the beginning was the black race. The story as it is told in the tape, African Origin of the Human Species, is taken from the study of paleoanthropology and also an African-centered overview of the theory of evolution. And this, which they call misnomer science, and it cannot be called science because you cannot prove it. It's not a natural law, it's natural law, it's a hypothesis. And that's different. Your method of approaching it may be scientific methodology, but it is not science. You understand what I'm saying? Then there's the other major theory of the origin of humans, and that is the theory of creationism. That some deity or some greater power created humans. And I do know that there is a divine mind and intelligence from which we have descended, that we have come out of there. Now, in terms of millions of years of human development, through its different stages, and they were humans now, I want you to keep that in mind, through their different stages of development, just like a baby develops through different stages, even this day to become an adult, has nothing to do with the fact that we are directly descendants of the divine creative force in the universe, the mother, father, energy in the universe. We, millions of years seem like a lot to us because of the short span of time we have on this earth presently. But they are not a lot of years in terms of cosmic chronology and reality. So you have to keep that in mind. Anyway, in the theory of creationism, in the beginning was the black race. I take some excerpts from my book and expand on them. African Genesis, Amazing Stories of Man's Beginning. And we start right with that chapter. In the beginning, God, which is a misnomer. which is a mistranslation from Elohim, which is Hebrew for the strong ones, denoting the mother, father energy in the universe, which Africans have always talked about and thought about before white folks came and brought up this masturbating God who had a son by himself and created everything by himself without mother, father energy. That concept existed nowhere else in the world until Indo-Europeans came down out of those caves and brought it to the world, because they have a problem with the female. Well, anyway, and I think I have this story on there that I always challenge black women with on this story, and that's that story of Adam and Eve, and I put it in a lot of context, and how you as a black woman run up in these churches, give them all your money and love your pastor and everything, and he tell you you ain't nothing and you done brought sin in the world. And I go into this story and its ridiculousness and how it came about and where they got it from, and why should you take the blame for all of that? Even if a woman had done it, you ain't do it. And so why are you going through that? Well, say that's why a woman suffering childbirth. A roach does too. Did a roach eat off the damn tree? First of all, what was the tree doing there? Who put the tree there? That's called entrapment, but don't let me spoil it for you. You got such an insecure God now that he has to put something there to test you. Put something there, make it all big, and then let a talking snake be in it at that, and tell you don't touch it. Hey, man, what you dealing with here? You dealing with white folks messed up psychological, I mean, they are just sick, demonic creatures. And I tell them that to their damn face. You're just sick, demonic creatures. There's no discussion here. Debate, how the hell you going to debate me? You ain't got enough mind to debate me. You don't know enough. Yeah, you don't have enough DNA to do that. You don't have enough knowledge. Well, we have the encyclopedia. Say all that shit can be kicked down in one night. We put all our scholars on all of that, and you ain't got nothing. You're stupid. I'm serious. We do. We have the greatest brain trust. That's why I'm saying you got to stop letting us suffer like this, man. We got scientists in every field. We got the greatest mathematician and physicist on the face of the damn earth that's gone 1,000 times further than Einstein. And he around here trying to figure out how he going to pay his damn mortgage. Well, you ought to be ashamed of yourself as a race for letting that kind of stuff happen. Why you got to get behind your scholars and you have to establish institutions that they can be in, and they're not asking for a whole lot. They just want to go teach this stuff, get this information out. If this man, Dr. Yibo, gets the right resource, I'm not saying that, when he gets the right resources in his hand, there'll be a whole transformation with the race, because we got a team of scientists that are working with him now, doing the best they can with nothing. Dr. Gabriel Yibo is the #1 physicist and mathematician on the earth. And he says he didn't discover anything. The ancestors revealed it to him. And the white folks told him, you come work for us and we'll take good care of you. And he said, I cannot do that because my ancestors told me when they showed me this that it has to be for African people. That's a hell of a damn stand for somebody to take. That's a hell of a stand, man. I mean, Einstein couldn't even hold a conversation with this man. I'm serious, brothers and sisters. You got to know what you have. Portrait of the eternal people. Eternal people. I have a dictum, a saying that I have that many of my students like to quote. There never was a time when the black race was not, and there'll never be a time when the black race will cease to be. You say, well, you say we're 15 million years old, and you say the planet is 4.6 billion years old and all that. We were always in the mind of the divine mind. For when the divine mind decided, and we still don't know how far back it goes, it could be a couple of 100 million. When the divine mind decided to put something on this earth that would represent it and was a replicate of what it would look like if it had a physical form, that something was an African. And for millions of years there was nothing but that. I started 2 million years ago, in case 15 million years might blow your circuits. But I take you through many of the high culture scientific civilizations that Africans established all over this planet, in Greece and Rome and Asia and many places. And I quote from so many of our scholars that if you haven't built your library by now, will certainly help you to do so. Now, let me go into the Bible. Now, let me say this. I better get a drink of water and pull some out for the brothers who ain't here. All right? Let's see, I'm a gangster preacher. The Bible is nothing but the history. In fact, this one is entitled, How to Find Black History in the Bible. It is nothing but the story of a little tiny nation of African people who lived not in Judea, not in Israel, not in Palestine, not in the Middle East, but in Northeast Africa. Northeast Archipelago land. That is what it is, and that is what we should only refer to it as. This nation lived in. The reason why their literature survived because they hid it in caves. When the Greeks came in, they burned up a lot of ours. They came in, they burned up 500,000 volumes at one time. The Romans, 700,000 volumes in Carhartus. Knowledge that is still in us, though. We don't even know we're carrying it around, all them volumes of knowledge that will come to fore at the right time in the right place. But this shows us without a shadow of a doubt that these people spoken of in the Bible were African people. You say, well, I don't care about the Bible. I've grown out of that. I'm glad to hear that. However, most of our people haven't. And to be able, very seldom do they invite me in churches. When I go, I always do this message because I make them open their Bibles and read the text themselves. They be mad as all get out at me. But they can't say nothing because in the Bible. You understand? And when you can teach history like that, teach a story like that, man, you got black folks. Because you got black folks say dumb stuff like, I don't need to know all that history stuff. I don't need to know all that. All I need to know is the Bible. Do you say that shit when your TV break down? When your cable break down? Do you say that? Hell no. When you get sick, you run your ass to the emergency room. You don't be talking about give me my Bible. You're talking get me a doctor. Give me some drugs. Cut me if you have to. But help me. They don't go try to find a text for that. After they had an operation, then the preacher come and read some stuff and say some words and all that. Let's be real, man, about that. Amazing black facts of the Bible. Amazing. You say it's a great tape, man. Amazing great black facts of the Bible and historical outline. What the hell do these stories mean? Noah and the ark, Adam and Eve, Abraham, everything. What did the stories mean? Where did they come from, y'all? You're reading stories that were in existence long before there was ever a Bible. Every one of these stories, I've seen them. You saw them when you were in Kemet. Saw them on the walls. Been there for thousands of years on the walls in Kemet before the Hebrews wrote anything. They already existed. Everyone, and they did not understand, even though they were Africans, they did not have the intellectual development that the Kemetic and Cushite people had. They didn't even understand what the hell those stories meant themselves. Only a fool believed that a man took a boat that was less than a block long, put 2 of every animal on it, and depending upon what part of the Bible you're reading, because you go in the next chapter and it said 2 of some and 7 by 7 of others, and put them on a boat that's only 3 stories and less than